It is no surprise that China praises and closely monitors what SpaceX has accomplished so far. But who'd have guessed they'd actually copy them? So, what exactly did China emulate? And even more importantly, is it possible to do it faster and better than SpaceX? Well, you'll find out in just a second, but first please don't forget to subscribe to our channel Futurephile to watch more fascinating videos on futuristic tech. On April the 24th, China celebrated its 6th National Space Day, also known as the Aerospace Industry Achievement Exhibition, in Nanjing, an event that highlights advances that China has made in space. The goal of this exhibition was to inspire the future generation of astronauts and aerospace engineers by fostering interest in space exploration and STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, subjects. The exhibition mostly focused on China's Chang'e 5 mission, which included some of the lunar samples it had brought back. Chang'e 5 mission is the first lunar sample return mission conducted by humanity in over 4 decades since the Soviet Union's Luna 24 in 1976. By completing the mission, China became the 3rd country to return samples from the moon after the United States and the Soviet Union. Apart from that, the exhibition also highlighted Zhurong, China's first Mars rover. The rover landed on May 14, 2021, making China the 2nd country to successfully soft land on Mars and establish communications from the Martian surface. Who was the first, you might wonder? Certainly NASA. In fact, NASA has landed 5 Mars rovers successfully to date. However, only 2 of NASA's rovers are operational as of May 2021. And as you already know, China's Zhurong rover is also active, making it the first non-American rover to successfully operate on Mars. So you see, China has no intention of standing still while the rest of the world advances. And it only became further evident when the exhibition displayed a video that clearly demonstrated China's determination to not fall behind. The video, presented by the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, CALT, one of China's main rocket manufacturers, demonstrated that they are working on a rocket similar to the Starship. Yes, you heard it right. SpaceX's under-development rocket, Starship. The video, titled 1 Hour Global Arrival in the Space Transportation System, portrays 2 potential concepts for achieving suborbital passenger flights in the next 2 decades. Both concepts have 2-stage vertical takeoff and landing (VTOL) rockets that look strikingly similar to the Starship and Super Heavy. And as the name implies, these concepts are about the rocket that lifts off from Earth, flies into suborbital space, and lands halfway around the planet in less than an hour. That's right, just like Starship. What's even more interesting about the video is that aside from the functionalities, the rocket also appears strikingly similar to SpaceX's Starship vehicle. The exterior of the vehicle is shiny, similar to the stainless steel construction of the Starship. It has the same triangular aerodynamic fins and stainless steel covering as its American counterpart and rides atop a similarly designed rocket. Furthermore, the first and second stages of the rocket are also seamless. Well, pretty much similar to what Musk and SpaceX have envisioned for the Starship. That aside, the second point-to-point concept in the Chinese video showed a horizontal takeoff, horizontal landing vehicle that used some sort of electromagnetic catapult. Both of these systems are part of China's previously stated goal of developing worldwide point-to-point transportation by 2045. Experts believe that the space tourism industry, which is currently worth over £300 billion, will be valued at over £600 billion by 2030. And point-to-point rocket flights would account for £15 billion of the entire industry, threatening to cut into long-haul air transportation. Although Starship has primarily been promoted as a vehicle to take humans to the moon and Mars, SpaceX has also developed a point-to-point concept. SpaceX first unveiled this Earth-to-Earth concept back in September 2017. A video released at the time showed a suborbital flight time on Starship from New York City to Shanghai of just 39 minutes and advertised the capability of anywhere on Earth in less than an hour. 4 years later, that vision of what is now known as the Starship system has advanced significantly, with SpaceX now focusing on flying the first astronauts to the surface of Mars using the same rocket within the next decade or so. And China wants in on the same concept. However, this would not be the first time that the Chinese space program has drawn inspiration from SpaceX. China has been monitoring SpaceX from the very beginning, with a particular interest in the company's plans to reuse rocket first stages. According to the book Liftoff, a Chinese spy boat was in the little patch of ocean where the Falcon 1 rocket's first stage was expected to return during the company's very first launch in 2006. More recently, in 2019, the Chinese Long March 2C rocket tested grid fins similar to those employed by the Falcon 9's first stage to navigate itself through the atmosphere during re-entry. That's because China plans to build the Long March 8 rocket to land on a sea platform like the Falcon 9 booster. It's difficult to deny that China's initiatives have indeed been influenced by SpaceX's concepts. However, is it because they can't come up with an original idea? Obviously not. Well then why? SpaceX has captured the public's attention in the last few years, reigniting the dream of space exploration. It's been nearly 2 decades since the company was founded, and it has already accomplished plenty of milestones along the way. To name a few, SpaceX made history on May 30th, 2020, when it returned human spaceflight capabilities to the United States. SpaceX launched the first pair of NASA astronauts to the International Space Station, ISS, under the agency's Commercial Crew Program, which aims to perform frequent crewed flights to space from American soil. And on November 15th of the same year, SpaceX launched its second crewed mission to the orbiting laboratory. There is a myriad of such achievements of SpaceX. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that achievement? Almost everyone would. The only difference would be that China, at the very least, has the aspiration of copying SpaceX. But when it comes to the space race, we really should not underestimate China. China, like the United States, is also heavily investing in space with support and funding from the ruling Communist Party. According to Michael Rasker, an assistant professor at Nanyang Technological University's S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, China's space program, technologies and capabilities have advanced significantly in recent years. Rasker says China has invested in space launch vehicles, space tracking and control facilities, strategic missile forces and next-generation precision navigation satellites. Although SpaceX is gaining ground in space, China is starting to catch up. In fact, in the first 9 months of 2020, China sent more satellites into orbit than the US and Russia. State-owned China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation was the most active individual company, with 25 launches, ahead of Elon Musk's SpaceX, which had 15 launches during that period. The rivalry between China and the United States in space exploration is clearly heating up. However, experts believe that there is still a significant technological difference between China and the United States, and that space is part of a broader strategic rivalry between the two countries. Ni Lijong, a Shanghai-based military expert, says, "The satellite launch race can also be viewed as a cutting-edge technology competition within the arms race, as many of these satellites are for civilian military dual use, but their defense purposes are of higher importance." Meanwhile, Charles Miller, president of NextGen Space LLC and a former NASA senior advisor for commercial space, believes that whoever controls space in the future will be able to control Earth and dictate its culture and values. The next decade or two will determine whether humanity's future is ruled by freedom and individual respect or repression and repression. And China seems to understand what's at stake. According to the roadmap revealed by China in 2017, the country plans to introduce its super heavy lift booster, named Long March 9, around 2030. This launch vehicle, which stands about 360 feet, 110 meters tall, should be capable of launching over 100 tons into low Earth orbit, LEO. This rocket will be used by China for manned lunar landings, as well as robotic space exploration of other planets, including a possible Mars sample return mission. The Chinese threat in space is real, and SpaceX cannot afford to stay complacent. China is almost at the stage where SpaceX was in 2016. SpaceX first achieved a successful landing and recovery of a first stage in December 2015. And the first reflight of the landed first stage occurred in March 2017. Chinese rockets have successfully launched, but the country is currently focusing its efforts on retrieving the booster stage. It is unclear if China will construct a Starship-like interplanetary transport vehicle. However, since regular Moon and Mars missions were also on the roadmap, it is quite likely that China may adopt the Starship design and mission profile in its entirety. For the time being, China is centering its efforts on a heavy lift rocket called the Long March 9. However, one thing is clear, the country is clearly taking plenty of inspiration from SpaceX technologies. What are your thoughts on the new Starship clone? Do you think China will succeed in the race to transport tourists into space? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like watching this video, you may also watch the video on how China is becoming a space superpower, shown in the end screen. See you there.